Hello, everybody. Welcome to In Frame. This is our fourth episode. I'm here with David Michael Alexander, Stalin Llivichuzhca. This is his first time on the podcast. He's one of the co-founders, our CFO. We are here with Lulu, a.k.a. Lulu on the set. And I'm Daniel Lewis Ennab. And we have our special guest today. We're very excited to have Christina Dobre.
Yo, you didn't introduce me.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did, bro.
I wasn't.
Bro.
Let's do that again.
All right.
You can't forget him.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the In Frame podcast. I'm Daniel Lewis Ennab. I'm here with David Michael Alexander. He's on his phone. I'm here with Stalin Llivichuzhca, a.k.a. our CFO. Oh, my God. Okay.
Another one.
All right. One more time. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the In Frame podcast. I'm Daniel Lewis Ennab. I'm here with David Michael Alexander. Stalin Llivichuzhca. This is his first episode with us. He is our CFO. He's one of the co-founders of Matria Rentals. And we have Lulu, a.k.a. Lulu on the set. And we have our special guest. We're very excited to welcome Christina Dobre.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. First thing I want to say is congratulations to the ASC mentorship program.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, really excited. I really want to. So I wanted to ask you about like just what that. I guess what does that entail? The mentorship program. I don't know too much about because I know some people that have been on there, but I've never really gotten into a conversation about what that is.
Yeah, so you're partnered up with one of the ASC members.
Okay.
And then throughout the year, you get to talk with them and learn from them. And it really depends on the mentor if you're able to go on their set and learn from their set. I think there's also a meetup at some point, but I think it's really different per person. But I'm hoping, this year's great. I have a really awesome
Who did you
mentor.
get paired
I
up
have
with?
Alex Dessenhoff, which is the DP from the recent Lord of the Rings TV show.
Oh, Rings by okay.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Oh, sick. Oh my
It's
God,
fire.
that's really cool.
Super excited to work with him.
Oh hell yeah. But I guess we have met very briefly once, and I've seen your work. We were just talking about earlier the music video that you did called Surprisingly Disco. Am I correct? Okay. First off, I thought it was really cool.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. And you worked with Chris Mitchell, who's also a mutual friend of ours.
Chris is awesome.
Shout out, Chris.
He's such a great guy.
Do you work with that artist frequently? Because there was another video that you've done with her.
I shot a few music videos with her with director Talia Lightrake. She's an awesome director, and I worked on like 1 or 2 or 3 of the music videos for her last year before her album came out. So yeah, she's an awesome artist.
What was your start into cinematography?
Yeah. Into cinematography, I mean, I started in the camera department. So I came up as a PA and then worked myself up in the camera department. Eventually, like 2020, 2021 was like, all right, I need to start making the jump from ACing to DPing. I didn't really want to be a first AC. I was second ACing for a while and did some first ACing, and it was just not my role. It wasn't for me. I respect my first ACs and anyone I work with that is a first AC because it's a hard ass job. But I was like, I need to make this jump because I don't want to be stuck in ACing forever. So I jumped off and I shot like my first short film back in like 2020. And then from there I was like, narrative is my world. I want to ultimately be a narrative DP. This is what I love to do the most. But I also mix it up and do music videos and a lot of commercials and some branded stuff too.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the music videos, do you find that it gives you a lot of more creative freedom to exercise like whatever ideas you may want to employ into the narrative work?
Oh yeah, I love shooting music videos. I'll always shoot a music video. It's great to like not have to roll sound. You don't really necessarily have to have a straightforward narrative. You can make it whatever world you want it to be. It can be very emotionally driven. So I love shooting music videos.
Give you a lot of credo for loving shooting music videos because I am done. Tough. I'm done with the fucking music videos.
I understand that coming from
I'm
a gaffer.
fucking done with those shits.
There's never any money.
No disrespect to anybody making
No
music
worries.
videos, but yeah, no.
It's
I'm
a
done.
hard
but
world.
but like some of the you see like some of the visuals, even like peers of mine who create some really beautiful imagery. Like I'm kind of like, wow, that shit is crazy. And then you see like the process of how they did it, and then they get caught on eye candy on the IG and shit. It looks fire. But yeah, now I give you credo. I would love to know, like, I know you kind of gave us a summary, but what's the story? What's your story? How do we get to here?
Yeah.
You know?
That's always a hard one. But I'll take it back. When I was in high school, I always loved art in high school.
Wait, are you from New York?
I'm not from New York.
Oh, where are you from?
I'm from outside of New York. I'm from like New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
I grew up around like Bucks County. That's where I went to high school. And then my family was always from New Jersey, but I always gravitated more towards New York City than Philly. But I have tons of friends in Philly and always loved Philly too. But after high school, I wanted to go to a university here for filmmaking, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just love performing. I grew up performing, and I also love photography, and I love storytelling, just watching movies, being able to go to the films, go to watch films at the theaters, and the experience of watching a film and getting just like lost in the world that it created. So I didn't really know where I wanted to go, but I applied to a university here in New York, didn't get in, and that kind of rocked my world. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do after high school. Maybe I'll move to LA. And I like wrote a shirt that was like, moving to LA at like my graduation, which is hilarious because I've never lived in LA yet. And I graduated and I was like, I'm going to take a gap year just to figure all this out. Because I had no one in filmmaking. I had no family in filmmaking and no one that had any connections to New York. So I found my first feature film while I was living in Pennsylvania on like backstage.com. And I was like, oh, this is like a PA job.
Yeah, I remember
unpaid
those.
Feature film. Like, this is cool. Like, maybe I'll get to try it out and see what it's like. And I jumped in. I did like an interview for a PA job in New York with an amazing director, Alicia Slimmer, who I'm still like best friends with now. And she brought me on as a PA, and I would drive from Pennsylvania to New York for the feature film every day, and it was unpaid. Thankfully, they paid for my gas and mileage, but that's it. And I was just like so dedicated, and it was like a 2-hour trip, like round trip. So that was like my first taste of what filmmaking was like, because I finally got to work on set with a team. It was like an indie narrative feature, like no money for anything, but the crew was incredible, and I got to experience what it was like to work on a set where you all just become a family. And I fell in love with that process of what it's like to just be around like an incredible group of creative people, just like pouring their hearts into this project and telling this story that was so close to home. And it was just amazing. It was like, wow, I like had no idea this is even like what filmmaking was like, and all the different crew members behind the scenes. And even then I still didn't know that cinematography was my route. I was a little bit more exposed to it, but I was the assistant to the director, and I got to like shadow her and work with her directly. But I fell in love with that process. And from there,
what
I
year?
went to university. That was in 2013.
Wow, long time.
Were you was that process like you got to be in the pre-production into like the principal photography phase, or was it just the principal photography?
It was just, let me think back. It's been a couple of years. I think I was in maybe like initially 1 or 2 pre-pro meetings, but it wasn't until production that the director was like, hey, I love you. You're a great young person. Like, I trust you. Like, why don't you come on and assist me directly on this project? So it wasn't really until production that I got to like really see the inner workings of more than just like what a PA was doing. I got to really see what she was working on, like why they were making different choices with the camera. And yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I feel like I share a little bit of a similar story there, because like my introduction was working on I forget. I don't think it was like I don't know if it was a feature. I forget, but it was like it was in it for like 3 days, and they had me as a PA to the director assistant, and it was a lot of exposure to
Was
like
this
just
Gotham?
No, this was
way
way before. Actually, hold on, real quick. I think something's wrong with the mic.
What? Nothing's.
I don't know. It's
you guys hear him fine?
Yeah,
I hear you.
Oh, you hear me fine? Okay.
Yeah, I
just,
hear you just fine.
All right, it's my headphone. I'm taking these off. So I think like the really cool experience about PAing, like when you start, is that you get like this really cool open view like lens on like just like how everyone operates. So it's like,
totally.
And then the movie element, like the fantasy element of it, is like so big, because it's like, holy shit, like you got like 10 people moving cameras, you got 10 people like setting up design, you got like you got all the people play such a piece into it.
Yeah.
And then you start meeting the PAs, and then everyone has like a very similar like outlook.
Start seeing all how shitty
no, after you do a couple jobs, then you start to realize so did you, when you were PA, like how long until you got into the actual camera side of it?
Yeah, so it was like it was a while from then on because I did that feature film and I met that director and I stuck with her for a while, but I didn't work on any sets for like 6 years, maybe less, maybe 5 or 6 years, because I finished that feature and I did another gap year before starting university, and I was still in like New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I think I did like some short films and like acted in them where I was growing up in like New Jersey, but they were some crazy films back then, looking back. And it wasn't until I actually moved to New York in 2015 to go to university and finally start university at Fordham University here that I was like in the filmmaking world. In 2019, when I graduated, I met like one person at my university that actually did filmmaking outside of our university. That actually brought me onto their production company that they worked at, and I finally could start PAing. And I was like, hey, I really am starting to like camera work, and I started kind of like camera PAing, and slowly from there I met more people that worked in camera department.
You were like Fordham has like a film school, like a film program. There's like a flying right there, like joining on the pod.
Fordham, I would not call it a film school when I was there. It was like film studies. I had like a BA in communications with a film studies major, and I thought that was a good route. Looking back, I wish there was a cinematography track, which I did not have, but I did get a general understanding of like being able to understand the story behind the film and the characters and their emotions and why the directors might have made that choice.
Yeah, the fly is bothering me. We have a fly problem in this building, but that's a whole different.
So it was more like theory that you were learning.
It was more theory. We watched a lot of films, but I appreciated that because it's not something I really do now, but it's informed me as a DP to understand the director's role and the storyteller's role and the screenwriter's role, because I took a screenwriting class, which was incredible, and I really understand, the motives behind the script rather than just the visuals. But if I could go back, I wish they also had a cinematography course, and maybe they do now.
You need a good balance.
I wish I had more technical teaching on set. We just didn't have any gear. We just used what we had. It was like I think my Nikon T6 I was using.
Oof. Hey, listen, we all have a start. I started with iPhones.
So they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Wait, so what about like the camera department and cinematography like really attracted you about it? Because it seems like you were exposed to like directing and you had like a very like close view of what it's like, and you were exposed to all these other departments. But like what exactly was it that like drew you there? Like, do you feel like, is it like setting up the frame? Do you feel like you feel more confident in like setting up a shot than like directing actors? Because I feel like that can be like very tough at times. So I'm very interested in what like really brought you there.
I would say I'm a very visual and kinesthetic person in general, and I love to express myself visually. I always loved painting and photography, and I loved social media even way back when, being able to like take photos of myself or the world around me and sharing it with the world. So I naturally was always like a visual person. And when I was exposed to like video and filmmaking and then how much I loved storytelling already, and found that, like I can combine those elements and be able to create images and convey emotions through video and cinematography. It was like a perfect little mix. And I kind of fell into it in my senior year. I ended up being the cinematographer behind a lot of the student films. And I felt that was like the perfect place, because I loved being able to frame up the image and understand the characters' emotions and really imagine what that world looked like. So,
So quick question for you. So I know you spoke about how Fordham didn't have equipment and might have not also had maybe some of the connections, and thinking of the mentorship program that you just joined, who are some mentors that helped you throughout your trajectory from camera PA to DP? Are there some people that you feel helped your growth in this journey?
Oh, let me think of that. In the camera department, I feel like a DP that really inspired me early on was Barbie Luang. I don't know if you know her here in New York. She's an incredible woman DP, and I started like second day seeing for her very early on after I graduated. And she was always incredibly supportive and awesome, and bringing me onto projects and helping me learn what it was like in the camera department when I just didn't have any of that on-set technical knowledge, or just learning how to be on set and what it's like to be on set, and all the things that I'll just like, what's the word for it? Like the politics behind being on set.
Yeah.
And she was just also awesome. She was like one of the first women DP I got to work with and was exposed to. Yeah. She's great. Her work's incredible. Go check her out.
What's her name?
Barbie?
Barbie?
Ryan. Yeah, she's here in New York.
Sick
Sweet,
name.
sweet.
It's a cool name.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're still learning about the way of politics behind sets? I feel like I've been on set for, well, I don't work on sets as much anymore, but when I was starting out, it was like, I felt like I was learning something new about different personalities and like how you deal with different departments. But now, even now that I'm, you know, like there's people that come to the rental house that we work with that tell me more about like what they're experiencing. I'm like, damn, like it's just like, that brings me back to a certain time when I remember like I had to learn how to do this or that and kind of finesse personalities.
Yeah.
And then but it seems like it's becoming more evident in dialogue. Just hearing everyone talk about it. But do you feel like you're still learning like different politics, I guess, behind the sets, and does it affect the way you kind of go about your career?
I think, yeah, I'm definitely learning with each set because I feel like every new person I work with has a totally different personality. And I think it really comes down to understanding human psychology and why people act certain ways or act out in certain ways and how to react to them in a way that's less confrontational to try to keep things more calm and you guys can work things out in a less like confrontational and aggressive way on set. So that's something that I continue to learn. It can be really hard when people step on your toes or challenge you in really unhealthy ways on set. And I think I naturally am a person just from my upbringing who gets more calm in stressful situations. So I try to tap into that when things get really stressful and heated.
Yeah, Danny. See? Yeah. More calm.
Yeah, we have
all right.
Christina, do you feel ever a pressure because you are a woman in terms of like navigating conflict on, because that's something I always like I'm concerned about, you know, just showing up or wanting to stand up for myself or stand up for my team, just how I can be perceived if I'm a bit too strong-willed, I guess. I don't know. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I totally can understand how you'd feel that way. I think when I was less confident in saying that I was a DP, I definitely felt more scared to speak out, especially against older white men who I was working with, who might have been talking down to me or been really egotistical. But I feel like now I hope that I can be a leader for a lot of the women that I'm bringing on set and show that like I can speak up for myself and they need to listen to me because I am one of the heads of the department and they should respect me just like everyone else. So I definitely feel that pressure that I need to like quiet my voice in order to not, you know, be seen as like ridiculous or dramatic. But to be honest, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the man that's being dramatic on set. Sorry to say. But in my experience,
No, it's valid.
Wow.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Lou and I were talking. I was like, yo, I honestly think I'm emotional. Like, Ben ever just.
Yo,
like,
and that's okay.
Yeah, we
it's
just.
not on set.
Yeah, not on set.
After my mom, my girlfriend, I see this guy the most in my life. I talk to him the most. Yeah. Him too, and our other partner Godfrey, who wasn't able to make it tonight. But yeah. It's,
well, you're making me sound like I'm like crazy.
No, but
I think I'm super more aware of because it's like I think what I've learned so far, because Lulu was like an intern.
You've grown.
Yeah, Lulu was an intern for us. Now Lulu has elevated into her own in G&E, and we have a lot of conversations, and I feel like I've learned a lot about.
Lulu's the best. Yo, like, hire Lulu on the set.
We had.
You need a grip. You get Lulu on the set.
Lulu, I hope it's okay to mention this. Like we had a disagree, like an argument once, and I remember like not getting it in my head. I was like, well, what's the problem? And then we talked about it, and I feel like those moments, like they've like allowed me to like look back at myself, and I'm like, yeah, you know, like half the time it's just like an ego thing on the guy's end, and it's just like I think like just having been working on sets where you deal with a lot of toxicity, it kind of wears on you, and to a certain point, like then everyone just starts to kind of follow that tradition, and I think it's like we're getting to a point now where it's like really it's nice to see that people are more outspoken about like the personalities on set, especially with
Me
men,
too.
like how men react. And there's like a lot of things that we see in Hollywood now about like this one actor did this producer did that, and it's just like a cycle that is still happening, but at least it's becoming a lot more apparent.
Yeah.
And more people are acknowledging like, okay, I don't want to be a part of a toxic environment, because it shouldn't be toxic. You know, you're doing a
No.
creative. At the end of the day, we're just making movies. You
Yeah.
know, we're not curing cancer. We're just playing make believe, and like there is a lot of stress. Like I don't think there is such thing as a smooth set. If to me, if a set is like super smooth, it's something about it gives me like, okay, I feel like something should like be like a problem. Like this something should happen where we all have to work together to make sure this shit doesn't fall apart.
Yeah.
But it should be like a community. It should be a cultivated community. Even with small shoots, like one day commercial sets, fucking music videos, especially music videos. Like I'm sure with the music videos that you worked on, like
music videos are the most stressful.
Unless I'm mistaken, but like the music videos that you worked on, like probably the budget's always the hardest part. You work with tight budgets, and it's like, how do we convey like a big idea, or how do we just like make with what we can, and just like keeping the cool, keeping the peace while we're doing it.
Yeah, I feel like this generation really doesn't put up with higher powered people treating them like less than, which I really appreciate about our generation. And I think it's really hard for older generation filmmakers to get that, because I've worked with some of them and they really don't get it, and we just won't put it up with it. And because I think we are just all understanding emotions a lot more as young people than our previous generations have, and how horrible it is to walk on set and treat someone like less than, or like be on a power trip. So I really appreciate it. I try to always come on set like everyone, we're all equal. We're all doing our part and busting our ass trying to make this creative project, and no one should be treating anyone less than.
Have you worked on like an all female set?
Let me think.
Because I've seen posts, like sometimes I'll see posts from like
Yeah.
colleagues I know, it's like all female set, like I'm looking for this, and I'm always curious, like wonder what the difference might be. Like I don't know, like I'm just genuine question. Like, I never, because I know like I've worked with like some of my guy friends, and that shit's a shitstorm. Like like we're all over the place.
Well, I actually just shot a
disaster.
spec shoot. I just shot a spec commercial this last Monday, and it was 99% all women, non-binary people, and it was fantastic. I think at least the women that I got to work with, and most of the women I get to work with, are just incredible communicators, and they're able to keep calm during conflicts, or when inevitably something goes wrong, we can all just get through it together without any ego trips or any like meltdowns.
Yeah.
And yeah, at least in my experience, it's been like that. I love working with women.
Well, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the first time we worked together, I wanted to bring this up. The first time we worked together, we were like hanging curtains, and I think Chris was gaffing, Chris Mitchell.
Yes.
And I think I was key grip.
That was Jack short film.
Yeah. And I remember like traditionally my experience up until that point was that the DP would not speak to me, like just they're on their own busy workflow, and I'm fulfilling their needs, their wishes. And I remember you came up to me and you were like, I'm really happy you're here. I don't see a lot of like women and femmes in G&E, and it really meant so much to me. Like, and to think about, oftentimes we encounter sets that maybe aren't so affirming, or they're very demanding, but that was a moment for me that was like, you really like, I don't know, poured so much love like towards me and towards the set overall, and it was like such a lovely experience. So I just wanted to say like thank you so much for that. Like it stays with me.
Well,
so.
thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
You worked your ass off on that set. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, no, of course.
And I love seeing how hard you're working in G&E. I want to work with more women in G&E, so I'm so grateful I get to work with you.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can do more this year.
For sure. We will.
Hell yeah.
What is like one of the most like difficult shots you've had to like cultivate?
Ooh, that's hard. I feel like I have two different shots. One was from my short film called At Night, which is one of my favorites I've just shot. That's going to be coming out soon.
Is that the running one?
That's the running one. I shot that
good.
last
Looks really cool.
October. The reason why that one was really difficult was it was a locations issue for this short film. We were very low budget, incredible first time director Zoe, She had such a strong vision, but we had very tight budget, and locations around New York are really hard to lock down.
Yeah.
So it was super hard to get that track. I think we locked it in 3 days before the shoot, which was so stressful. So we're like, fantastic, we got it. And it was Yankee Stadium, which we were like, holy shit. Guess we're shooting our short film at Yankee Stadium. Let's do it. But it was a 4-day overnight short film.
Yeah.
So that was
Wait,
brutal.
was this with Chris Mitchell?
Chris was
oh,
our
yeah.
kid.
I remember him.
Yeah,
He
damn,
talked
shout
to me
out
about
Chris,
it.
yo.
Yeah.
Chris, shout out Chris Mitchell, man.
He's showing up for me. I appreciate him so much.
Good dude. Good
So one of the hardest shots was, well, giving some backstory. We did get the track. We arrived, and all the lights on the track weren't working. And in my lighting plan, that was like
Damn.
a key part of the location lighting, because we didn't have enough money to light up this entire track or have the floodlights on because they're super expensive.
Yeah. Then you need a Jenny too and all
Exactly,
that.
which we did have, but we didn't have enough lights to light an entire track 360 when they're running around it. So we had to make a lighting plan very last second. And it was one of my first times working with a Steadicam op on a one wheel and being able to remote control this myself overnight at like 4 a.m.
Wow.
So that was very exciting. Another backstory was like a week before this, I was operating on a set and I passed out and hit my head on the ground really hard, and I cracked my head open. And
Wait, last week?
The week before this shoot.
Oh my God.
At night.
Okay.
So I was operating and I passed out and cracked my head open and rushed to the hospital, and I had major concussion and had to get staples. Sorry, anyone that's listening. And it was pretty brutal. That was really scary. So, but I was prepping that short for months, and was like, I feel strong enough to be able to do it. And thankfully, my partner Johan Biota, who's an incredible person, came on and camera opped a lot of the heavy work shots for me. But that was also a layer into how hard it is making just an indie short film that's all overnights, that's outside when it's freezing.
You're okay
So,
now?
I am thankfully all good.
All
Yeah.
right, that's good.
Thankfully
That's
all
good.
good. Yeah.
You got everything. Do you remember? No, I meant like, now I'm just fascinated by what happened. But you got
That's a movie in itself, right?
Yeah, right. Like, you remember the whole incident?
I remember the whole thing. Yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty crazy. And I think it was just a combination of just being really exhausted and really hot. It was super hot, and there was no chair, and it was like a live show that I just didn't feel comfortable.
Sun's
being
beaming down.
everyone, everyone it was actually like a stage, and I was facing the audience, and everyone's looking at me. So there's just like a lot of added anxiety in that, and just like I didn't have any headsets to be like, hey guys, I need to sit down and get some water.
They stopped the live show.
They did.
Oh, okay,
stop
that's
it,
good.
because
That'd be fucked up. That'd be so
That would be like on some network shit, the Patty Chesky
yeah.
movie. Yeah.
But it was a big lesson in my life and my career of how important our health is, and how if we ever get hurt, it's pretty scary because it's our livelihood. And we really got to take care of ourselves first over whatever we're creating. Like our health is the most important thing.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you
yeah.
bring up, because like I've like realized this, like, and I'm not the person to speak about health, because look at me, like, I love to eat. I don't work out as often, but I've been very fortunate. I'm trying.
More like trying than pound cakes.
I'm trying. It's the mental that you gotta switch up, because it's all up in here. But I'm very fortunate that we all are in a group chat right here, like called Matria Fitness, and everyone posts like them going to the gym has been really motivating me to.
It's a great chat until everyone just starts talking about anything that. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
And then starts blowing up 100 messages later. It's like, oh, all right. Well, people having side conversations in the chat. Oh, it's a mess.
But it keeps you accountable, because
Absolutely.
I like that. You need that sometimes.
Yo, this kid the other day did a 5-mile run in the humidity yesterday.
But I was like, everyone else worked out and ran.
Lulu posts 10 o'clock at night, like, just got here. Where you at? Yo?
Yeah, it's funny
That's
because if the people, it's funny because like when they don't go to the gym, then everyone just starts saying, "Oh, I didn't go to the gym. I didn't go to the gym. I'll do better." And I'm just like, just go to the gym. It's fine. It's all good. Like I think we put a lot of pressure in ourselves to be like it's true. Like you have to. I do think like there's so much pressure on
There is.
set where you kind of forget that you're just, like I said earlier, you're just making some piece of entertainment.
Yeah.
But it's also so easy to like do the set, eat the set food, and then like
Oh,
just kind of
yeah.
go home and
Totally.
sit back after like hours.
Yeah.
Diet,
And then
you
we don't give
know?
ourselves credit when we do try, because it's like we want to be like consistently doing
Yeah.
like but it's just a lot. But it's like it's okay, because at the end of the day, like it takes one day, it takes just one try to get the motive, you know, to
Yeah.
get everything emotional.
Set life is tough. Oh, you want to say something?
Oh no, I was
Yeah.
just gonna. I mean, just thinking about like health and health on set, and the fact that, you know, at the end of the day, we are laborers. I mean, there's a physical labor aspect of it, but I just want to hear about like your self-care, like of course, like physically and like from a place of health, like what we're talking about, like all of our healths, you know, is like
Yeah.
it's not an ideal. It's more of like just sustaining ourselves, but
Yeah.
also another aspect of that we were talking about is I think sometimes like the pressure and maybe like the exploitation of oneself that we feel we have to do in order
Totally.
to keep up with like, especially with social media.
For sure.
I mean, despite the fact that I really love to share what I am doing, I sometimes feel like it can become a really toxic relationship with feeling like, okay, I have to like continue showing people that I am working, that I'm
Yeah.
available, that I have these skills. So how do you feel about that, and how do you feel you show up for yourself and care for yourself throughout it all?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I feel like there is a very toxic pressure in the film industry to feel like I'm strong enough to carry these cameras. Like, I'm not weak. I'm always working. I'm always capable of working. I'm not going to say no to a job, you know, and it's really hard for us because we feel like, especially freelancers, we can't say no because who knows when that next job is going to come. And then we end up getting really exhausted and burnt out. And I really felt like that myself, of just especially as a woman, of feeling like I just can't show any weakness because who's going to take me seriously if I can't hold this camera? And I think in my accident last year really showed me like that's really hard and it's really toxic and really horrible on my mental health to put that pressure on myself. And it's okay for us to be vulnerable and show when we need to just relax, and rest is okay.
Yeah.
So I think for myself and just taking care of myself, I've been trying to have a life outside of filmmaking, which seems so simple.
What?
But I feel
I'm playing.
It's hard for us filmmakers. We love what we do, and it can consume our lives so much. So I've been just trying to, I did a lot of martial arts over the last couple of years, which has been really awesome.
Hell yeah. What kind of martial
I
arts?
did Krav Maga and
Okay.
kickboxing.
All right.
So that's a super
Fuck yeah.
fun exercise that I feel like that teaches me a lot about self-defense, which I really love. And alternatively, I also switched to Pilates. I love martial arts, but it's also really heavy on your body when I feel like
Yeah,
our work
especially-
is already so heavy.
So it's like kickboxing, like, you
Yeah.
know, getting kicked in the face is not always the most fun, you know?
I was like, I need to slow down a bit and like do something a little more restorative. So I've been doing a little bit more Pilates and just trying to, you know, eat right and eat a lot less sugar, especially when I'm on set, trying to not just like get my blood sugar dropping.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay hydrated.
Stay away from
The
those
simple
Welches.
Yeah.
Stay away.
But it just keeps yourself
Fuck.
sharp and focused,
Yeah.
especially as the image maker, you know, and
On the
because
side
you,
note,
you're running the ship.
yo, a sponsorship from Welch's would be kind of fire.
Welch's, you hear
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
All right, Welch's.
Well,
I wanted to piggyback and with the film about the cross. What are they, like a track team?
at
like,
night.
At night. How do you go about deciding? I know obviously this is the conversation with the director, but how do you go about? I guess just knowing like what camera you're gonna use, what lens you're gonna like, what focal is gonna serve that story. It's all night. How do you go about deciding the mood and just going about covering that, because it's one
Yeah.
location, correct? It's one, and you can almost, you know, one location stories are so fascinating because you would think it could be mundane, but there's so much creativity you can pour into it. So how do you go about deciding that?
Yeah, so for at night, and it's going to be shared soon, there was multiple locations. There was 3 locations that
Okay.
were the main ones. Like it's street scenes, we have the training ground scenes, and then we have the track. So there are 3 distinct ones. So
Okay.
each location had their own visual color and story to them. So
Okay.
that helped break up the story, the film visually. And for the track, it was a hard one because we didn't have like $100K budget to shoot this short film, as most people don't, you know, and it's already overnights and it was like 30 degrees out, so it was freezing. So we knew that we had to keep our
snap.
our shots to like the most basic sense so we can make the day, not have these runners freezing their asses off outside, and for everyone to stay safe. So I always approach it talking to the director, thinking about, what are they imagining this to look like? What do they want it to feel like? And we first talked about movement, how in the beginning of the film, and just to give you like a synopsis of what this film is about, it's about this running group of men who only run at 2 a.m. by themselves, led by this powerful leader who sets their pace. And throughout this story, a new person joins their crew and starts to dismantle that power and challenge the head leader. And then we see what happens. So I already knew that it was going to be a story about two men, and
Invite us to the screening.
yeah, I absolutely would. Very soon. It'll be coming out very soon.
We will be seated.
Seated.
And then we're gonna go for a run after. Yeah. 2
I
a.m.
really give it to these actors. They
Yeah,
ran around
yeah.
that track. I don't even know. I
2
wish
a.m.
they had
is-
something
2
tracking them.
2 a.m. is fucked up.
Yeah.
That's
Tell me
so-
about it. Yeah, so
It
they really
ha-
put in work.
It had to be overnight.
It had to be overnight because they run at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Kind of
No, it's gonna
Yeah,
be
you
at 8 in the
can't.
morning.
We all learned our lesson.
in
in that
direct
too.
sunlight.
Yeah, so it really started with movement. And we talked about how when the main leader, he was in power, the camera was a lot steadier.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to feel very military-like because it's very structured, very regimented.
Yeah.
And they were hiding from a lot of things that they didn't want the world to see during the day. So as the other character came in and started to dismantle it, we went to a little bit more shaky handheld to feel a little bit more of the anxiety of what that main leader was feeling, of like losing all this power that he once had. So that was kind of where we started. And then from there, I started to visualize, what focal length we might want to shoot on. It also depends on budget of what lenses I have the ability to get. And we ended up shooting on the Nikkor AIS primes. These
Okay,
are vintage Nikon lenses
Those
that I
are great,
have as
yeah.
my kit.
Hell yeah.
And we didn't have a ton of huge budget to rent a whole camera package, so I also ended up using my own Blackmagic 6K, which is a great camera.
Yeah,
It's a
I
great,
love-
yeah,
I
it was
love
a
the Black
go-to.
Magic.
We
That's
all
how I
started. We
I
all
started
started
with
with
Black
Black
Magic.
Magic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Black
I started with DSLR, but the Black Magic was like the first.
That's
And I'm
what
talking
Sony's
about
now.
like what happened? Okay, I remember starting with the first one, the 2K box one, that huge one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
and
that.
Literally
and
only 1080p too, right?
1080p, and it was like one of those like. I don't know. It was a great. It was. I love. My only issue with the Black Magic, honestly, is just like the body itself. But I love that it. You can really you can be innovative with that camera.
Yeah.
And you can get really great color
Yeah, it's
off
pretty light.
it. Yeah, it's pretty light. It's a great It's a great camera for anyone that's like really ready to make that transition to digital cinema,
Yeah.
like a true digital cinema look.
Yeah, I think it's also just like a great starting camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think like when I started in film too and shooting, like Blackmagic was just so easy to use. Like one thing, like one of my issues with Sony is that great image, great quality, but the settings and having to set it up like S-Log and everything, so difficult.
Those menus.
Yeah, those menus, but Blackmagic just made it so simple and
Yeah.
it gives you such a crisp image.
Yeah.
So it's like if you guys are starting out, I definitely recommend using Blackmagic, especially a pocket, because you can
I
make it
totally
look
agree.
crazy.
That's crazy what's crazy? I'm watching the trailer for it, and my first thought was like, was this the Mini? And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's how. I mean, it's a testament to good coloring too, and
Yeah.
and good lighting and just good framing. Is
Thank
that you
you.
can
I
for sure.
appreciate that.
Do you color your images? Or?
I do not color grade them myself, but we did have a colorist on that project. Yeah, it was
Alright.
Calvin Bellis.
Calvin
a
Bellis. It looks
fantastic
great.
colorist here in New York.
Looks really good.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, of
I
course.
am definitely a DP who is less obsessed with the gear and more just see the cameras as a tool.
Mhm.
And
I was
whatever
just
budget.
It's funny because I was just gonna ask you. Are you more of a painter or are you more of a plumber? I asked this to everybody.
No, you did. You
Yeah.
asked one guest.
Oh.
No, but that's a great question though. I like that saying.
Defining both is the plumber the more technical one.
Yeah.
I would definitely say I'm the painter. I appreciate the tools that I have to get the painting done,
Yeah.
but I think I'm open to using a variety of different tools to get there. And I'm not hell bent on a specific camera. I have preferences. I love the Aries and I do love Blackmagics, but I've shot on Sony, I've shot Haven't shot on red, but I have shot on, Canons.
Yeah.
It just depends on what our budget.
The reds are the red. We got the red and the Komodo. It's got a great image, great color. It's just such a bitch to kit. Like it's and it doesn't ride. So I mean, it's just FYI. If you're buying a Komodo, you think you're gonna rent that shit? No.
Everyone and their mother got a Komodo, so that makes it a problem.
Same with like the mini or I guess the 35s that people own those cameras.
Mm-hmm. It just became like such an owner-op camera that only every time we have an inquiry for like packages like the 30 like DPs or whatever, the production will come with their own 35.
Mm-hmm.
Either they own it or someone else owns it. They got it from a friend or whatever. It's but the minis every week pumping out like even the LFs a little bit, and the FX3s are always going out like crazy, and FX6s and
those Sonys are awesome. I mean, the Creator looks incredible, shot on FX3.
Yeah, shout out Oren Soffer and Greg Fraser.
Incredible work on that shoot. Yeah, definitely. Like if you're starting out, use what you got. If you got an FX3, you can make it look incredible with whatever you have. Blackmagic.
Put some good lenses. Get good colors.
I even think with DSLR, I know you're probably. I do think with DSLRs too. If you just know how to, like, if you know how to kit that right, if you know how to like just log it right, like even those cameras too.
Absolutely.
You can really. I always think. Me personally, I always feel like it's like how you color it and how you light it.
It's all about lighting.
Yeah, it's all about lighting. Ooh. It's all about it just because it just shows that you know how to read like an environment.
Yeah.
How you could see something, even if it was dark, even if it was like too bright. It always builds character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. So you're saying you're more of a painter than a plumber, right? How do you go about communicating what you have in your head to your team? Because I feel like when my biggest, like the thing that I had to learn very fast was communication, especially when you're working on sets, and then when you start in businesses, when you're growing and excelling, and when you have more people on your team. Communication is by far the most important skill.
Absolutely.
How you communicate and when you communicate, like, and coming off not as, sometimes you have to ask people to do things that they might not want to do, but it needs to get done. You have to ask it in a way that doesn't feel that you don't want them to feel like less than, and also sometimes it's complicated. How do you tell somebody to light something, if they don't know it so well, or like how do they see your vision? How do you go about communicating to like your team of how to achieve things in your head?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, it starts in pre-production. I try to do as much work as I can in pre-production to get my gaffer to understand what I want and what I'm going for. And I usually make a whole lighting lookbook myself of like just stills and examples of what the light I want it to look like in our environment, and a lighting overhead, which I'm sure you get from your DPs yourself. But when we're on set, inevitably things change. I didn't come up in G&E, so that is an added level of just learning curve for me, trying to learn how to communicate those lighting technical skills and units to my gaffer. So I usually communicate the lighting that I'm going for with the example that I have in my lighting lookbook, and ask them, what recommendations do you have? Because I usually always try to bring on people that I respect, who know more than me, who I can learn from myself, and trust them with their vision. Because also they're a creative themselves. I never want them to feel like, oh, you only have to listen to me, and I can't, listen to any like suggestions that you have. We're all creating together and collaborating. So I think it's really just being open to suggestions and telling them what I generally want, and if they have questions, trying to answer them as best as I can, and eventually we get there.
Hell yeah. All right. No, that's valid. Lookbooks and, letting them know like what how you are perceiving the images is always very important.
Trying to communicate the emotion I'm trying to convey with that lighting and where I want it. But I'm still learning. There's still so much I have to learn.
You don't really care like what units we're using, or like, where they're being placed, as long as you can achieve the look.
I think that at this point in the projects, a lot of the narrative projects that I've been doing, I'm still heavy-handed in making that gear list, because maybe there isn't a huge budget for a gaffer with like a 1-ton truck. It's like I'm probably using some of my lights and getting some from Aperture and like sourcing them from friends. And so I'm still involved, and I kind of give like in my lighting overhead suggestions on what I think we could use. And then on the day, I kind of trust them to, do what we're wanting. I generally like more bounced light than just like hard directional light. But it definitely depends on the project and the narrative. So, yeah.
I get it. Sometimes I deal with DPs. No disrespect
I'm
to
sure you
nobody.
do.
If I'm gonna talk some shit,
Yeah, let's hear it.
like, yo, they get very snippy when you want to use other units other than the ones that they want. Like, yo, why are we not using Aries?
Oh,
Like,
really?
why do we want to put it? I'm like, yo, this aperture is pretty fire. You should consider it. Nah, M40s only, homie. M18s only. Like, yo, I want to use only tungsten. Not all DPs, but some.
I know there definitely are some like that who are like super nitpicky in the color science of the different lights.
Those would be the same
I'm not there yet.
DPs. Those would be the same DPs that are like you could make an image out of anything. Like that.
Straight up.
You can shoot anything.
Just go in the backyard with your friends and take your iPhone.
And
It's gonna be fire.
And then they always shoot like on minis,
Yeah, that does. We'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Gotham Sound, for supporting today's episode of In Frame. Whether you're working on set, or in the studio, or out in the field, Gotham Sound has been the go-to source for professional audio equipment and expert services. From wireless audio solutions to microphones and sound mixers, they've got everything you need to capture perfect sound on any production. Check out their full range of gear and services at gothamsound.com or visit their store in New York and Los Angeles to get the best audio solutions for your next project. Big thanks to Gotham Sound for helping us bring this episode to life.
Hearing you like talk about like the craft and like your work, it seems like it's very intentional and strategic, and almost like it comes from a place of like second nature at this point. So I think one thing I'm very interested in is how did you go about measuring like your progress of like your art and your work? Like, what goals did you set for yourself? Like, I'm pretty sure like, you were talking about how we start with like starter cameras like the Blackmagic, but now you're working with all these other cameras. So like, yeah, how did you measure your progress, and like what are some goals you have for yourself right now?
That's a great question. And I think a really difficult one, because I feel like a long time as an artist, like I've always just felt like a beginner, and I still can feel like just a beginner. And it's taken me a long time to really understand and be okay with this craft takes like a lifetime to master, and it's okay to take my time and not be like the most advanced, skilled cinematographer right now, especially in these days and age, especially in this day and age, where everything just feels very fast and everyone needs to be like famous tomorrow. So it initially felt like that, where I was like, oh my God, I hate everything I'm creating. I'm never going to be good enough. How do I make my work look like these incredible DPs? And I think over time, I understood that the journey of a filmmaker is just the relationships you build. And I measure now my skill and my progress by how many times I get to work with incredible filmmakers and friends. And that's like the best part of our job sometimes. And I think also like as long as I have a saying, like if I love 90% of what we shot that day and we make the day and everyone had a great time, then I'm succeeding in my job. So I've kind of been using that motto in a lot of my projects of feeling like, okay, did we make the day? We didn't go over, great. Do we love most of what we did and set out to do? Okay, great. And did everyone have a good time and didn't feel stressed, felt looked after? Great. Then I'm learning as a DP and I'm growing. And I think like objectively, of course I can say, oh cool, I shot like 10 short films this year and I got like 10 commercials in. And of course I keep track of those things, and I would love to like, my next goal is shooting a feature and going to film festivals, because as narratives, as you guys know, take long time to come out. Yeah. And I'm still waiting for a few projects to finally come out and hit the festival cycle. But I've just been enjoying the journey and understanding that every year is going to look different, and I have almost no control over the projects that come my way, and I just can keep doing myself and understanding my emotions and understanding other people's emotions and building relationships. And the more I feel like my community has grown, then I feel like I'm doing better and better. And I can look back on past projects that I've shot like 2-3 years ago, and I'm like, wow, I really have grown in my understanding of lighting, or why behind the choices that I've made. I think those are probably my benchmarks of relationships, how well we're doing on set, and how how much better I can communicate what I'm wanting. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Is there like a specific project that you felt like when you started like your career in camera department where you're like, okay, like I'm doing something right, like I'm feeling very confident, like I feel like I can take this to the next level? Like, is there a specific like project where like you felt that?
As a DP or like in camera department?
I'd say as a DP, since I feel like that's what like you are fully like focusing on, and you know, I feel like there's sometimes like those projects, like when you first start, you're very self-critical, and then you actually make something that you're passionate about, or like, you know, it's just like that eureka moment where it's like, wow, I feel like I should give myself some grace, you know, like I'm actually like doing something right, and I feel like I can continue.
Yeah, I feel like it was the project at night, like we were talking about. That was the project that it was the most intense, and in terms of overnights and most pre-pro I had to do to make sure that everyone's safe and all of our shots made sense, and the most choreography with the Steadicam op, like rolling around that track 100 times, and the most like pivoting we had to do very last second. That challenged me in a ton of different ways, and I felt like I walked out of that really proud of myself because I loved what we created, and I was really happy with, you know, how we like made the day every night, and everyone was safe, and I'm really incredibly proud of the film we made. So that was definitely a project that made me feel like, wow, I'm really loving what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm in the right place, and let's just keep going from here.
Oh, that's awesome. That makes me want to watch it even more.
Hell yeah. I can't wait for this shit to come out,
too.
yo.
I'm just like, I'm
Hell
like
yeah.
at the edge of my seat. I'm like, I need to see this.
One thing we didn't tap into is you have a really big social media presence, both IG and TikTok. Does it take a toll on you to do? Because like something that I've always asked myself, because I direct, but I sometimes think of like, I feel like we live in a day and age now where it's not enough to just be a filmmaker. It depending on like it's just like a lot of filmmakers are like they either they promote their work or they're promoting their work, but they're also showing like the inside outs of like the in and outs of being in a production and just showing some neat tricks. Like I actually like when we took a break, I saw that John had posted like something on the subway of like I shot this and then it transitioned
Johan.
to Johan. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, Johan.
That's okay.
I saw
I just saw that post too.
Yeah, and it was really cool, and I find it like that it must be like a lot. It's a lot of work. Like you shoot it, you got to color, you got to do all this, and then you have to not only do that, but then you got to actually like make a post, and basically in a way it's like a free education to people that might not go to film school, or they might have an interest. Does that like how is that for you, and like what got you into that mindset of like I want to do this too, I want to have a platform, I want to make films, but I also want to show people on a broad spectrum of how we do this.
Yeah, it's incredibly fulfilling for me to be able to do that. I think naturally I love sharing just what I'm doing and being on set as a woman and being on set in filmmaking in general, because I know growing up it was so mysterious. I had no idea how people got into it, and I think a lot of young people still feel that way because our industry just doesn't have a straightforward stepping stone to get to the next level or meet people. It's just like you gotta go out there and meet someone, you gotta go out and shoot something, and you're like, cool,
you just gotta go in.
Now
that's
what?
it.
Yeah.
It's just like so vague. So I love to be able to, you know, peel back that like mysterious veil to show like this is what we're actually doing, and you know it's not always so romanticized. So I started that during 2020 during COVID, and I was just at home as we all were, no jobs, and I just felt like really disconnected from everyone, and I naturally was going back to just creating some visual pieces for myself. I was doing a long distance relationship with Johan at that time when he was in South Africa, and I was in New York, and we were creating little video projects for each other for our anniversary and posting them online.
That's what's up.
That's cute.
And we like throughout our relationship when we were doing long distance would like create little videos for each other and like post them online and show the world. So I have that in my past, but I was always posting, and at that point I was like, oh cool, like I see people posting on TikTok and other filmmakers on TikTok, and I'm like really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying this platform at that time. So I was like, okay, how can I jump on here? I'm like worked in the camera department for a few years. I have some knowledge there. Like, let's see if this sticks. So I just started creating some content, and one of my biggest ones was like 5 things you should not do as a PA on set. And that went so viral. Like, so many people were like, wow, this is so helpful. This is so informative. And there was never any short form content like that I at least saw outside of YouTube at that time or point in time. So I was like, okay, this is a cool thing, because I wanted to meet other filmmakers at that time when we were all just home, not meeting anyone or creating anything. And it just went from there. And I just kept creating things from behind the scenes of the short films I was creating and shooting. And I got to meet like tons of other filmmakers who are also on TikTok, like around the world. And it's been such an incredible part of my filmmaking journey. And, you know, it's helped me sustain income when work has been really slow in the filmmaking side. And it's helped me get jobs that other people I would have maybe otherwise not gotten because they just wouldn't have seen my name. So it's been really excellent as an artist, like a marketing tool for myself.
Yeah.
And just being able to connect with young people who just don't know where to go or know where to start. And hopefully I can inspire them as like a woman DP. And I recently got to work with one woman who has been following me for 2 years, and she came on as my second AC on Monday. And it was so cool to have like full circle of someone who was like started in Ohio and like learning from me, and then was able to work on set with me. And it's just really cool when it's like an in-person connection like that.
All right. I saw something on your, I think it was TikTok, or you were at the Tribeca Film Festival. You were interviewing like the filmmakers of the, I guess the films that were in competition, or the films that were being screened. What is that? Is that like, was that something of your own volition, or was that something that you were like hired to do and do those interviews?
Yeah, so I was hired by Mazda
Okay.
for that project. They were doing a Moving the Image Spotlight like festival for some people who didn't get into Tribeca, and they gave them a second chance to be in this smaller.
Wait,
like,
Mazda, the car
Mazda, the
Company.
car company.
Yeah, I was about to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that
There's
too.
filmmakers. Yeah.
Shout out
That's
Mazda.
cool.
Yeah, so they picked 7 filmmakers who didn't get into Tribeca, and gave them a spotlight to broadcast to this like smaller group of filmmakers and agents and production companies. And it was really incredible. So I was hired as like a content creator filmmaker to come and get behind the scenes of the Mazda cars and the filmmakers there and interview them. And it was a really special event. It was really very sweet to see.
Do you do that often too on the side, or was that like the first time doing something like that?
So that was the first time I was interviewing people, which I really enjoyed. I also like offered to do it because I've been really wanting to do more interviews of just filmmakers in general.
Right.
But I've been doing a lot of different collaborations over the years with different filmmaking brands. Like I work with Aperture all the time, and I went to their creator house in LA for Cine Gear this year, which is super cool.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of different collaborations, but I worked with Tribeca 2 years ago with Verizon, but this is the first time I got to really be in like a little festival and interview filmmakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
It's cool. It's a cool side thing I get to do.
Yeah.
Side quest.
It's amazing to see, and I think like really beautiful how you're using it to like the second AC, and myself as well. Like a lot of us who not only get to see you as like a femme woman DP, but also the knowledge that you're sharing and how like just like for you are with that. I wanted to ask you about encountering perceptions folks might have based on your social media presence and how you might navigate that, because I think that's also something like in a very micro level I've kind of been sensing a little bit like from my own experience, and I'm sure for you that's really like larger and at play. So I'm just curious of how you might navigate maybe a persona people might create of you based on social media, and obviously like your who you are and how you are on set. Like
a persona of like maybe not being like a real filmmaker, or
a persona of just like I guess the assumptions and ideas that they take based off of how you publish, how you share online. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes I've had situations where either I'm posting rigs or I'm posting certain things that I'm doing, and I encounter people on set, and they're kind of talking me through like, oh, I had these assumptions about you, or
oh really?
I don't know if that ever happens to you, or
that's
if
so interesting. I haven't had a conversation of people being like, oh, this is like what I thought you were. Thankfully, hopefully, I can
it's a little weird.
come off as like nice. And like, I'm not sure. I'm sure people have assumptions of me on set. I think the biggest thing that I contend with is the mindset that people who create on social media aren't actual filmmakers, and they're just like videographers or like just like social media people, content creators who haven't actually done work on film sets. So that's like the biggest stereotype I've had to deal with, you know, people that work in the film industry even commenting on my videos being like, oh, you're just like an Instagram cinematographer. You're not a real cinematographer.
That's so lame.
Even
What
though
the
I'm like
fuck?
posting my actual film sets. And it's such a very dated mindset. I think that's the biggest thing that I have to deal with. It's
Haters
a lot
gonna
of
hate.
the older
You're not real.
it is a lot of hate. It's
You're
a
not
lot of insecurity, a lot of like people feeling like they're not good enough because they're not posting on social media and then just projecting oftentimes. Or it's like older generations feeling like they're getting left behind and like us youngins just don't know the real set ways, you know?
Yeah.
You can't stop innovation.
Innovation
Will always perceive the masses, and you are just innovating the masses.
Yeah.
And then change is it's
Inevitable.
It's the way of the universe.
Straight
Now,
up.
do you
From the very
think?
beginning.
Do you think that's what a filmmaker should do? It's something that I've mentally been asking myself. Would you find success like more so if you were going that route? Like, or could it be a world where there are filmmakers that use their platform like TikTok and IG, and then there are filmmakers that just I don't know, they just don't use that platform, but they continue to make their work in whatever way they could. I understand that like it is important like to have the platform because like you just said, like it gets you jobs, like it puts you on the map. But I guess I'm always wondering like, do you have to go that route, or I guess it just works differently for everybody?
Yeah. I would say, in my opinion, it depends on who you are and your relationship to social media. Because if you have a relationship that you don't feel good on social media and you don't like putting yourself out there like that, and you feel like it'll give you more anxiety trying to do that, and it'll keep you from creating your best work as a filmmaker, then I recommend not doing it. It's not necessary. I just had a conversation over the weekend in this masterclass with Natasha Breyer, the DP, and we talked to some agents, and I was like, does social media matter when you're signing a DP? And they flat out immediately said, absolutely not. So you do not need a big social media platform as a filmmaker. Will it help in marketing yourself as an artist? And that's like the new age way to market yourself?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I think it will get your name out there. It will be able to just naturally have millions more people to see your work.
Yeah.
So it will help, but it's not necessary. Has it helped me? Absolutely.
It's like the same correlation with if you own any gear.
Yeah.
Like, will owning gear influence your like work output? Like, will it get you more jobs? It's a yes and no.
Yeah.
Like, maybe, but maybe not.
Maybe.
Like, you know, because it's the same thing with social media. Like, yeah, maybe if you own an Alexa, maybe you'll get another job or two, but it will not guarantee you anything. It's all maybes.
Yeah,
Sure, it can benefit you, but it won't guarantee you.
You still have to
Shit.
do like
You gotta put the work.
the real life relationship building. Even if you have social media, it's just doing a little leg of the work. You still need to show up in those relationships in real life as a filmmaker to create that network and create that community.
Yeah.
So if people are doing that outside of social media and hustling and meeting people and just don't want to have social media, they're still going to do great. I have an AC friend who gets hired all the time, and she doesn't have an Instagram. So it's
that's
still
There you
possible.
go.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Yep.
This
That's good.
um
It varies.
all
Right.
right.
Social
It
media
varies.
definitely varies.
But I would say income-wise, it's definitely like 40% of my income through collaborations on social media with brands, for sure.
Yeah. What are some of your? I'm not gonna ask you what your favorite film is because, like we said earlier, it's like it's hard to decide. But what are some films that I guess have stayed with you in your mind as you progress as a DP, as you watch films or TV? Like, what is there anything or a couple of titles that you kind of stick with and that you kind of analyze in a certain way that you try to attribute to your work?
Yeah, I think one film would be Parasite. You know, when I first
hell
watched it,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a masterpiece.
Mad good
The
movie. That's
last
my favorite
masterpiece.
movie.
Incredible
The
film.
last masterpiece. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure,
I
truly.
think that
Shout out Bong.
it's an incredible film. The DP on that project, you know, I love how they shot it. I love the story behind the film.
Yes.
I think their visual storytelling was like captured that world perfectly. And I was reading some interviews about the DP and his lighting choices. Like he communicated that in like the very wealthy rich family, they wanted to make sure they had big windows and natural lights to make the space feel like airy and bright and welcoming. And they lit the poorer areas that were like dark, down deep and tiny little spaces, cluttered with like very hard incandescent and like just like gritty lighting to make it just feel very suffocating. And I think that type of work is really what I try to bring into my projects. It felt very grounded and real to the world, but it felt a little bit more elevated, more like expressionist.
You really try to feel emotions through imagery. I've noticed that. Yeah, you're not like, it's interesting because like as a gaffer, like, well, I guess like. Yeah, as a gaffer, like I work with so many DPs with so many different personalities and so many different views on things, more technical, more artistic, more egotistic, more like free, you know, and I have, you know, whatever, I'm going to do the job regardless, but you have a very keen eye on like, hey, I'm trying to make you feel a type of way with these images, you know, that's my goal. Like, you know, I'm trying to make you feel something.
I always think like there is no other way to, like, what other reason would you do it, you know? Like, your community. The thing about Parasite that was cool, the setting in the bathroom in the poorhouse was always the one that stuck to me because you mentioned the big windows in the rich family house, but in that bathroom, the window is overlooking everybody. It's a rectangular, it's super tight, but it's got enough of a streak in there that just shows, like, their profiles in a way that is much more mystique, but also a lot more barren in their environment. And it's like stuff like that. They built that set too. They built all that. It is
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's fucking. I love that movie.
They had the lowest budget out of all the Oscar-nominated Best Pictures. They had $11 million budget, and they won. They had the lowest out of everyone.
South Korea just makes great films too.
They do.
But
it's my favorite films.
It's so good. Yeah, and by the way, if you ever heard the movie I Saw the Devil?
No.
Do you like violent movies?
Great movie.
Do you like?
Sometimes.
I haven't seen that.
I Saw the Devil is a very violent film, and it's
Okay.
got a very dark, twisted element to it. But it's
So
so well made.
So, oh my
Anything by Park Chan-wook didn't make that movie, but that director too, he has like a lot of like Old Boy and the Revenge trilogy. But like I think cinematography is like, it's so stated when you feel like Parasite felt like a musical in a sense. I don't know how to say. There's a sequence where it's like slow motion. She's throwing he's throwing the blood thing into the trash can. She picks it up, and it's like the cinematography moves in a way where you feel like both DP and director were like creating a sonnet like Paul Simon and Garfunkel, like just going right in. And it's so meticulous that it's rare. There's a lot of movies that look great.
Yeah.
You know, like Joker.
It's like
But what is it saying? What does it say? Parasite has that in a way that I feel every frame is like you feel like something, especially in the ending too, when it's like super dense and lonesome.
That shit was crazy.
The snow and
Shit was fucking.
it's really strong rhythm because even the ending, how everything kind of subsides and it almost there's a quality to it that you're not even sure what is reality, or even when they're in the gym once. And also another thing too, I think the idea of like levels.
Yeah.
And it truly feels like, because there's so much intention within the rhythm, within how space is defined, how light is defined, and what we were talking about like during our break of the camera being a character. I mean, it's really truly there. And I think really makes you the painter that you identify as, you know, that you're really coming from that place as well, and this film being an inspiration for you makes so much sense, and it's beautiful. I love films with like such a clear rhythm that it takes you on. And I remember watching it.
From the moment, the moment it starts.
Saw that shit 4 times in theaters. That shit was incredible.
It was
a journey.
I was like,
one more thing I will say about that film that was also really cool is I really love how it, besides maybe the third act when things get a little crazy, a lot of it's still. It's like sometimes the best, like to me, I'm so into cinematography that's still, like there's no like handheld or anything, but still there's just so much going, like there's some movements, it's slight push ins, slight push shots, a lot of reveals, whatever, like up, low, whatever. But it's also like, I think the key to really great cinematography too is like what you're putting in the frame.
Yeah.
It's like they decorate so much in front and it's subtle at the same time that you can almost like pause every frame and just start nitpicking things. Start doing like the like symmetrical, like how did they do this? Did they do the Ozu effect? Did they do this and that? There's so many analyzations when a frame is just itself a frame.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
I love.
I find it so funny. Like I think I was watching this video, and the director of Bong, and he was just, you know, he creates like this masterpiece, and you'd think he'd be so excited about the process, how he came about, and he's just like so monotone about it.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, you know, he's like, I wrote the script. He was like, I was at a coffee shop. He was like, most of the time, he was like, most of the time I was just like, you know, I would sit there for hours. And then they would come, and I'm just like, yo, he's like talking about it like so casually. Yeah. It's like one of the best films.
It's probably because of that's what it just is. Like,
yeah,
you know, I think he just
a happy accident.
You know, he's coming from a place. He said, because I saw it in the New York Film Festival, and I saw him up there. He said that he likes to go to cafes to listen to people talk. That the dialogue that people say end up becoming a part of like his writing process, which I think is really cool because it's like. It's true, like, you know, we look up to a lot of these films, and then you like hear like Bong Joon-ho talking about like just like how did you do it? And it's just like, well, yeah, like it's pretty much like what any other filmmaker or artist like probably does in their own time. Like we all have our own way of just like looking at life, the frame in front of us, and we're like, okay, like that might be something. Like you can see like a fucking what's it called, the fire, the water shit. Why am I fumbling right now? The fucking when you got like a fire, you gotta fucking
put out the water, put out the fire, and steam.
The fucking in the street.
The fuck are you talking about?
Fire hydrant.
Oh
Jesus
my God!
Christ. We're gonna edit that out. We're gonna edit that out. You can see something like a fire hydrant and like kids running around, the water is spewing out, and then you're like, wow, that's just like a movie in itself. Or
and why is it like that? Why do we feel like that's a movie? Yeah.
Do you think in those terms? Like, do you look at things and you're like, that's cinema right there?
That's a
Are you the type of DP?
I will say I have a little bit of a hot take, and I think maybe we finish this after this hot take.
Well, that artists are not really artists.
No,
make money off it. That's a take.
Yo, I didn't say we're not talking finances today. I will say I do think there are a few people who are extraordinarily exceptional, and I think Bong Joon-ho is one of those that it's like, I don't know if you believe in God or anything, but I think it's like one of those, like he's extraordinarily exceptional and he stands out. And there's only a few people. He's like one of there's people that are like 1 in a million, and there's people that are 1 in a billion.
What's the hot
and
take?
He's the one. I think he's just truly exceptional.
That's
you can't replicate
take.
that.
You can say that about
Tarantino,
Bong Joon-ho.
Yo, I think he's gifted by somebody. I think he's
have you seen Memory of a Murder?
Oh my God, incredible movie, incredible.
I feel like I have, but ages ago.
Oh, it's so
I actually
His
just
work
bought
is
that
incredible.
Criterion at a random stoop sale for literally like $10.
Ooh.
It's a fantastic.
Yo, you're gonna love that movie.
Actually, like I remember I actually saw it during COVID, but literally no one had the movie.
No one. Yo, same. No one had the movie. No one has this movie
except for me.
I literally
I got
found
it.
that
You have the
on this,
Korean
like,
translation?
Yeah, I
random,
got film.
like you know, like movies 1, 2, 3. It was like one of those like random.
Yeah,
links
streaming.
I found on Reddit.
I-
to, like, watch it.
I watched it
so strange.
I watched it in Korean. I didn't watch the because there's no translation. I kind of got the movie, but like it was so good. I'm like, I don't need the English translation. I'm just gonna watch the shit in Korean.
There's just a few people who really can translate the human experience
Yeah.
so well, and
Yeah.
so effectively for us all to be impacted.
Yeah.
That's why I always loved filmmaking.
Again, it's sometimes it's just about like how sometimes like Scorsese says, sometimes the visual tells the story. You might not have to write something or like have like a dialogue scene. It could just be like, I saw a film called Climax by Gaspar Noé in Berlin. I remember taking a friend to go see it. I was like, yeah, it's got subtitles. We went in, there was no subtitles. And we were both just like, what the fuck? And it's a movie about people trapped in a dance room and they all trip on a really bad drug and they're trying to find out who did it. And I'm watching it and I'm thinking like, I'm feeling like the pulse. Also, like I was tripping too because I took a little acid when we were seeing it. But like, I remember.
You wanted to feel the whole
I remember thinking to myself like, I can't understand what they're saying because they're all speaking French. But I know what's going on. Like I could see that there's so much level of like, of different emotions that are going on with the characters and they're trying to figure out like who did this thing. and it's a pulsating movie. You feel like there's life like happening, and it's like taking you away. And I just think like there's so many rare experiences like that where you could see a movie and you might not even really know what it's about, but at the same time you do. It might be something existential. I think great films bring that out of you. When you walk out, you start to have existential thoughts. And it kind of haunts you in a way. It could be scary, it could be beautiful, it could be very sad, it could be either or, but it's like it is a human experience level.
I feel like a film that did that for me was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh yeah, that's a
so
great
great.
movie.
Yeah, I cried when I saw it.
Another
It was fucking
absolutely incredible film. That I think I've watched it a million times at this point. But
yeah, it's so good. Two Rocks made me cry.
Oh, yeah.
Like straight up that scene with the Rocks, like just so emotional.
they can give you like a roller coaster of emotions, and you can come away feeling like, wow.
Yeah, and they started with music videos as
Yeah.
well. Like they did the, what, it turned down for what?
Yeah, but they did like crazy budget music videos. It's
Yeah,
different from
yeah.
us. We working with like too much. Sometimes we be getting artists like, I got like I want like all this gear.
They started doing a bunch of this thing that they sometimes do with non-profit like film programs where, like, for example, a company like Vans or something comes up to a group of students and it's like, we're not going to really pay you that much money. Can you make an ad for us? So they did a ton of that too, in terms of like, I mean even I want to say the SFX or the VFX. I'm not sure what that they learned something like weeks prior to applying it to their film. So I think
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to hear like how they started in terms of, because I know they eventually grew to those music videos that are like of a higher scale, but there was a an origin story, like many of us that
they found it.
You have what you have. And that's it,
they found an idiosyncrasy that I think like depending on like what it was that they did that you were speaking of, that it probably became like the thing that they stuck on, and it transitioned to even higher levels to a point then where a movie like Everything Everywhere at Once somehow achieves like sometimes I think the impossible, and that's to like mend a bunch of different things, but somehow still at the end of it have a very simple story about one culture, generational trauma and family.
Totally.
Very important themes in films now specifically.
Yeah, I feel like that movie has such a like. I don't know if the terms like probably contradict themselves, but I feel like it's a very like elevated student film. It's like very well made, but it still has like that fresh idea of like this is like a movie like we all wanted to make. Like when
that's what I love.
Well,
about
actually,
it.
in film school, I felt like everyone. I might be projecting, but I feel like in film school, everyone wanted to make Requiem for a Dream, and people wanted to make I think it was Requiem for the Dream. There's a lot of people who were like, I want to make a movie.
SVA, though.
Yeah, I did. I was like, I want to make movies or that. No, it was movies like Requiem for the Dream. It's like I want to make a movie about like what drugs did to me, or the movie about like I lost my girlfriend, so I'm walking around the house and there's a voiceover playing in my head, and then I'm like touching the leaves and shit. I swear to God, I've seen that shit so many times in school, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that, and then I caught myself doing it, and then I was like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna eliminate.
Crazy.
Yeah, very SVA coded. Christina, what's next for you? What's the next project you're working on? What you got in store?
What's next? I have a blank slate. I think actually, no, that's not true. I've been doing a few specs, just self-funded specs, because I've been shooting a lot of branded content commercials, shot a few narratives earlier this year. So I've been just wanting to create more fun stuff with new directors. So I have a cool fashion spec coming up in the next few weeks that's very like Fallen Angels vibes.
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah.
So that'll be really cool.
Finally, a one-car wide movie that isn't in the mood for love. It's fucking awesome.
I just watched it yesterday again.
Which one?
Fallen Angels.
Fallen Angels is so fucking
it's
good.
Crazy film. So that'll be coming up. I just had a crazy week. For the first time ever, I can tick off my bucket list skydiving as a DP.
Hell yeah, that's what's up.
That's fucking fire.
That was crazy. I can't talk about the project of what it was for, but Tuesday, my partner Johan and I went to a skydiving place in Long Island to shoot a project where I had to be inside of the plane when they went up. Okay, so let me give you some backstory. I was like, I'm not going to jump out because I have one job, and that's to get the shot of the talent jumping out and skydiving out of this plane. So we had the option of skydiving. I said, no, I think I just need to focus on operating this camera at like 12,000 feet. That's probably going to be enough stress for me. So we go up in this plane, and we're strapped into the skydiving instructors, and my partner Johan is behind me, and I'm operating the camera. This like plane door is wide open. I can see like 12,000 feet down, and I've never skydived before in my life. And I was like, okay, like remain calm. Let's get the shot. Great, got them, got their reactions. Cool. And then I look back, and he's like, "You sure you don't want to? You sure you don't want to jump? You sure you don't want to jump? Like, there's a co-pilot. They can take the camera. We can just jump out." And he asked me like multiple times, and I guess his instructor was like, "You sure you don't want to jump? Like, we could jump. It'll be fine."
Fucking adrenaline junkies,
Yeah.
yo.
So they were the best guys, though. They were so great. And like, literally, I kid you not, 30 seconds before the talent was jumping out, I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. Okay, I'll just jump out. All right, cool. I guess I'll just skydive. And like, I'm making this decision with the door wide open, and I'm looking down at the earth. And it was crazy. I had to hand my camera back after the talent jumped out. And like, I didn't have time to get nervous at all, because I just had to remember like, okay, like, what did he tell me in the briefing? Like, I wasn't really fully paying attention. And then we jumped out, which was crazy. And I kind of felt like Charlie's Angels, because I was like, all right, I did my job, and I got to jump out of the plane.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's
So
a
that was a
riveting-
recent sick job I just did.
It's a riveting experience to jump out of a plane.
Have you done it?
Yeah,
It's pretty insane.
I couldn't. I was kind of. A friend persuaded me to do it in San Antonio, and then I remember like being on the edge, and I'm afraid of heights. I was so shook, and then he just flew. He goes first. He's like, whoop,
Yeah,
like nothing.
it's crazy.
And then once you do it, honestly, to me the worst experience was just going up. But the moment you jump down, you don't really have time. Like it's like 60 seconds goes by like that, and the next thing you know,
Yeah,
and you
it
do
was
feel like a
incredible.
spy.
Yeah.
But the view is incredible.
It was amazing, yeah.
And I would do it again.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't think I was gonna jump until 30 seconds before, so I was like not nervous at all, which was crazy. But
She was pretty incredible,
it was
right?
pretty crazy. Yeah, so that was a recent thing I did. But
Oh,
looking
yeah.
forward, I'm hoping to get more narratives before the end of the year, and then we'll see. You know, we never really know what's gonna come up as freelancers. So
We could do like a little, since you were talking about like how you like to be very informative with your platforms, maybe we could do like do a camera checkout with me or something too.
Oh, that's always fun. I think I did one like checkout day video, but I definitely want to do more of that, of just like looking at what a checkout looks like, or
Hell yeah.
you know, that kind of vibe.
Always welcome.
Yeah, I would love
Always
to come
welcome
here and do a little checkout.
Hell yeah,
Guys,
yo.
Yeah.
That'd be super fun. Yeah, I'm hoping to make a lot more videos in the next few weeks. Now that when work slows down
Yeah.
on the filmmaking side, I have a lot more time to edit. On the
Hell
social
yeah.
media
Yeah,
side,
yeah.
so.
Where can people find you?
People can find me at Christina Dobre on Instagram, and it's Christina Dobre on TikTok.
Hell yeah. We're gonna have
Hell
that
yeah.
on the info too. But awesome. Yeah.
Thank
I
you
mean,
for having
Alright.
me, guys.
thank
This was so
you.
fun.
This was fun.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Sweet.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of In Frame. I know I did. So be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our YouTube channel, Matria Rentals. Beyond the podcast, Matria is producing a variety of content, including tutorials on film lighting and camera work, equipment ads, and much more fun content on the way.